Welcome to the 18th show of Touring Texas Songwriters with our host, the long, tall Texan, Mr. Bruno Michel. Today's show features one of the great Texas songwriters and storytellers, Chuck Hawthorne, and is brought to you by the Barrel Brewing Company and the citizens of historic Salado, Texas. Chuck Hawthorne was recorded live in front of a studio audience for broadcast on Country Radio Switzerland. Sit back, relax, and listen to the stories about the life and times of Chuck Hawthorne.
All right, in 2015 you put out your debut album, which was kind of late, almost, I would say.
Yeah. Well, you know, I don't get in too big of a hurry about much, Bruno, you know.
And you just recently released your latest, which is called Fire Out of Stone, which is actually available outside. If you don't have it, get it, because it's way worth the listen. And
well, thank you.
You worked with countless Texas artists, and you're a veteran, so thank you for your service. And
well, thank you for saying that.
Welcome, Chuck Hawthorne.
Appreciate it. Thank y'all.
Let's start with a song, I guess.
Oh, let's do one. Let's do that loud one. This song it's a biker song, you see. It's got a French chorus. Another one of my commercial successes. Well, he smelled like marijuana, two-finger cologne, and he smoked his Arrigo cigarettes through an ancient saxophone. He used to ride the holy wind, and he called it catching air. There ain't a bone he hadn't broken, there ain't a jump he didn't dare. He was a stove-up gifted dreamer, holding on the best he could, and riding out on 6 main strings and trips to Hollywood. That's a 46 Indian, leaking oil in his garage. And if he lifts the door far enough, you can see his great mirage. Said, "C'est la vie." Say it to me. C'est la vie. Won't you sing it to me? Oh. Now you never know where he's going, so hang tight and razor sharp if you're keeping up with the devil or smoking that old mouth harp. And he sang one for Jimmy Martin, and he painted David Mann on a flathead Gibson schooner. Yeah, he riding once again. Said, "C'est la vie." Say it to me, c'est la vie. Won't you sing it to me? Oh. The last time I thought of him, he gave me that old Indian, and we rolled on out across his great divide. And his holy wind I gave him back. Now he's riding on the Zodiac. And such, my friends, is life. C'est la vie. Say it to me. C'est la vie. Won't you sing it to me? Oh, c'est la vie. Sing it to me. C'est la vie. won't you sing it to me? Oh. All right, yeah. Thank you. Something like that.
Like my friend Thomas Michael Riley would say, holler and swaller.
There you go. I like it, man. I like that style.
All right, now the first record you played as a kid was Sneaky Snake by Tom T. Hall, and that came out of his Fox Hollow children's album. Is there any other guys that inspired you to go into the music one day?
Do you work for the FBI? How did you know that? What's the question? How did you know that? Yeah, that's the first record I ever spun that I remember. What was it? Seriously, what was the question?
It was the question was, who else except Tom T inspired you to go into music one day?
Oh, I inherited all of these records, and that Tom T. Hall record was one of them. And that was a real special deal, and only a certain, shall we say, demographic of people will remember the days of rubber banding a penny on the head of the arm of a record player, so it didn't skip all the way to the end. Not everybody remembers that.
Just to give it some weight.
And I think it was a very high quality Fisher Price instrument. and I had to have been 4 years old, But my sister had taught me how to use the record player, And that was the first one that I played. And amongst those, that Tom T. Hall 45 was a ton of records. I think, as best as I can remember, my Aunt Betty Lou out of Memphis, Texas, God bless her, handed down. And there were these Cal Smith records and Johnny Cash. And this would have been in the 70s, so it would have still been cool to listen to Johnny Cash. But I was listening to Johnny Cash in the 80s in high school, when it wasn't cool anymore, It's hard to woo a prospective girlfriend in
Johnny Cash songs.
1987 with Johnny Cash songs, Now it's great, but back then it was dicey. It really was. And, gosh, what else? Loretta Lynn, my mother was a huge Loretta Lynn fan, and, she was a fiery woman, and that kind of sassy stuff that Loretta Lynn was singing, right in your face.
Which nobody else did back then, by
Nobody.
the way.
Nobody. She doesn't get enough credit for being such a groundbreaking artist. What else? Got the Beach Boys. I had some Beach Boys records, so there was some stuff coming out of California, like the Ventures and records like that I waited until my dad went to work to listen to.
It's all kind of different styles, If you compare like Beach Boys with Tom T. Hall and Loretta, then you got the whole spectrum of different music styles. And basically, at the end of the day, you kind of ended up in the folk and cowboy area thing.
Sure.
And how did that happen? I mean, that transition must have been coming one day.
Well, I grew up in cowboy country. I grew up in a place called Amarillo, Texas, and there's really not a whole lot up there except cowboys and oil field workers and truck drivers, and those were the main things up there. And I was, growing up, when I did, I wanted to be a cowboy, And I had the great fortune, we had the great fortune of living next door to one. And, boy, you want to talk about the real deal, Mr. Clifton Lowe. And this is the 70s, I can't imagine anybody even being a parent and doing this today, but just like, it's like, all right, Cliff, take him, throw me in back of the pickup truck and go, you know. And I mean, that guy taught me so much, and yeah, I was grateful to get to do it. So there was a big cowboy influence early on. The only music, really predominant music listened to in the household that I grew up in was country music, you know. But the good country music.
Good old stuff.
Good stuff.
Absolutely. You wrote your first lyrics to the Wreck of the Old 97 thing when you were in 4th grade. So can you still remember the first own song you wrote? Sure,
yeah. I can't play it, but...
Why not?
Because it's terrible. It was a perfectly horrible song. But there was an old cowboy in our part of the world. There's a ranch up there called the J.A. Ranch. And there's a famous cowboy named Tom Blasingame. And Tom had cowboyed all over the West, but had done most of his time in the remaining last years of his life, probably 30 or I don't know. Don't get me to line, but he'd done spent decades on the J.A. Ranch, and he was 90-something years old, and he went out horseback all by himself, right? And he was windmilling. So he was going around the JA checking all the windmills to make sure that they were working properly and providing the livestock with water. And he didn't come back. And they went out searching for him, and they found him with I think his horse was hobbled, and he was laying on the prairie with his hands folded across his chest and his hat tucked over his eyes like that, you know. And I thought, my God, you better write a song about that, you know. I wish I'd have done a better job, but then years later I was listening to an Ian Tyson I picked up an Ian Tyson record, and right there in the song title it said Tom Blasingame, and I said, yep, that's mine.
That's it.
And he did a much better job than I did.
All right. Okay, let's play one you can not only remember, but also... You don't think that's horrible,
Bruno,
too?
you got your work cut out for you today. Let's sing one about that Amarillo wind. She sails down from the Rockies through miles of barbed wire fence, and her ancient tides have righteous things to lend. Amarillo wind. I watched her curtain fight, flashing morning light. That breeze was freedom on her skin. She lay there soft asleep, and her dreams in secret keep, and her golden hair tangled in mandolin. And we were music on that wind. And our love was like a whirlwind, the devil in the dirt, a twister we thought would never end. Like that Amarillo wind. And oh, the embers of our fire swirled up to meet the sky, carried to some place we'll never know. And it was life, it was death, and there was love in every breath. And the sweetest was the last one that we stole. And our love was was like a whirlwind, a devil in the dirt, a twister we thought would never end, and her scent's the sweetest rain, stirring in my brain, and her laughter's lightning without end. Amarillo wind. And she sails down from the Rockies through miles of barbed wire fence. Her ancient tides have righteous things to mend. Forever in my soul, her ashes scattered on that wind. Amarillo wind. Oh, thank y'all.
It reminded me a lot of the early Murphy songs, by the way.
Oh, man. Well, that's quite a compliment. I love Michael Martin Murphy.
Really good. Now, you learned guitar on board of the ship you were running in the Marines. And
did.
It's not that long from there to your songwriter circle that you run in Elgin every second week. I think it's Tuesday or what? Every
second and
Tuesday?
fourth Tuesdays, yeah.
How did you get to that idea?
You know, it was actually Kevin Smith, the owner or a part owner of the Liberty Tree Tavern there in Elgin. I think, it was in, I'd run across Sharon and Andre Matthews at gigs and just fell in love with their music. And they had a show there at Liberty Tree Tavern in Elgin, and they invited me to come and maybe play the break set or open their show or something. And Kevin, the owner of the bar, had heard me, and he recommended, and he knew I was just a solo act, guitar and vocal kind of songwriter deal. But he said, it's kind of dead here on Tuesdays, maybe we can get something going here. And so he invited me to start this series every second and fourth Tuesdays of every month. And the first time I played it happened to be the first date I had with Libby Coke. So I was late to the gig. And I had maybe been overserved. And I had no business. This was 75 years ago, I promise. But maybe shouldn't have been driving. I'm trying to get past the statute limitations. Hauling down the road, and I called up my buddy Thumper West Green. And I said, call Liberty Tree Tavern, tell him I got a flat tire, I'm on my way. So I get there, and it turns out that he wanted me to play for 3 hours. Now, unless your name is Bob Dylan or Bruce Springsteen or something, ain't nobody going to want to hear one guy and a guitar singing his own songs for 3 hours. So I immediately decided to start inviting people to help me out. So it turned into a guest artist kind of a deal. And man, we have had some really cool artists on that little gig of mine, and it's been going for 5 years. Libby and I have been going for 5 years, and that gig's been going for 5 years. I don't know which going to quit first.
And And by the way, he's really working with some hilarious guys. Like one of the guys is Buffalo Rogers.
Oh my Lord,
that guy's funny as hell.
Out of Norman, Oklahoma. I love Buffalo Rogers. Yeah, I sure do. Yeah, he's welcome in our house anytime.
These guys are really funny, and then he has got some serious songwriting partners as well, of course. Now, compare that, like a 5-year gig with that songwriter circle, and still it's only like 4 years since you put out your new album. So what made it kind of take so long to get something out? Is it just you didn't know which songs to put on, or
You talking about the first or the second?
the first one?
The first one. You know, I didn't want to be a performer. You know, I enjoyed performing in living rooms, in around campfires, and you know, for my friends and family and stuff like that. But I really wanted to be a pure songwriter, where my songs went out and got covered by you know, the big acts, and my job was to stay in pajamas, walk out to the mailbox, pick up the check, walk back into the house, and write another song.
Yeah, right.
You know?
$1 million song.
And it turns out it just don't work that way anymore. I think there was a time where it worked that way, but it ain't now.
May work again. You never know.
And it took me meeting Ray Bonneville to get me out of that, because I had tried for 20 years to pitch my songs to anybody that would take an unsolicited submission. I was pitching them to record companies and production companies, and first, you know, anybody that would take it, and song contests, and first one thing and another. And I just had been beating my head against a wall and hadn't gotten anywhere in the music business. And when I met Ray Bonneville in that airport, you know, he took me under his wing and he said, "Look, and the only way to do this is to get out and perform your own songs and travel the country and travel the world with your own music and get it done."
People to know you, yeah. And we get to know a little more music, I guess.
Sure, yeah, let's play one. I usually have my idiot sheet down here. I don't have one. Let's see. Oh, it's bound to be on the 3rd fret. Libby calls that the key of Chuck. My father was a gasoline pump mechanic, and he'd come home every night soaked in gasoline, and he'd go to the back bedroom and read a verse out of the Bible and come into the living room and sit down and start drinking vodka, you know. And then he'd light a cigar, and he never blew himself up. He was a professional, Bruno. And when he died, I inherited all of his tools. He had these hammer-forged steel punches. Every single one of them was rounded off over at the end from him hitting those things thousands and thousands of times with a ball-peen hammer. Got to thinking about my dad and the Bible and the vodka and that hammer. I figured my daddy was quite a hammer swinger, you know. Devil damn an idle dagger, where you fist like a ragged hammer, punching steel pins through the face of time. Like some old Roman soldier with some unholy roll of crucifixion nails and sacrificial wine. You head for work, 90s are rocking, spinning wheels and gravels popping like a sidewinder flying down Satan's drag. And your hammer strikes like a rifle shot, 16-penny bullets pop straight along that righteous zigzag. Swing it straight and swing it true. Keep your eyes on your due and swing that hammer hard until the day you die. I might just to make $1 with sweat around your collar before they nail you down with a hammered-on necktie. Hammer out your daily bread and pour it down your hammerhead, son, so fast it's a wonder you don't drown. Just before you go to hell, that gospel hammer rings your bell, boy. Who's gonna nail the lid to your coffin down? Swing it straight and swing it true. Keep your eyes on your due and swing that hammer hard until the day you die. How much to make $1? Sweat around your collar before they nail you down with a hammered-on necktie. Take it, Libby Coke. Libby can't be here. She was on the previous radio show y'all heard. Now my daddy swung a hammer that would make John Henry stammer like that poor lad never learned how to swing. He bent miners out of majors with a ball-peen revelator. Lord, how he could make that hammer sing. Sing it straight and sing it true. Keep your eyes on your dude and sing that hammer song until the day you die. How much to make $1? Sweat around your collar before they nail you down with a hammered-on necktie. Swing it straight and swing it true. Keep your eyes on your dude. Swing that hammer hard until the day you die. How much to make $1 with the sweat around your collar before they nail you down with a hammered-on necktie? Yeah, before they nail you down with a hammered-on necktie. All right. But got me choked up.
Cool.
Thank y'all. Y'all are awful sweet.
The next project you're going to hear from these guys is something that's very popular right now because Kelly Willis and Bruce Robinson put it out. Walt and Tina Wilkins put it out. Next thing is going to hear a duet album from Libby Cock and Chuck Hawthorne, I guess. Right?
I don't know. How do you spell divorce?
Look back to the 60s. Heavy Wynette did it.
I think Tammy wrote a song about that, didn't she? I don't know. You know, Libby and I, we haven't had the courage, I think, as a couple to collaborate.
I know.
Much beyond the stage. And I'll tell you, when Libby sings and we're on stage together, you gentlemen know what I mean. I step back to the left, away from the microphone, and don't do a thing but smile. But when I sing, Libby's all over that stuff, man, and she does pretty lovely lead and harmony work on my stuff. But remember that Clint Eastwood movie? I can't remember what it's called, but he was playing. It was one of them Dirty Harry ones. He said, man's got to know his limitations.
Yeah, but sometimes you got to break them. That would actually
I play
be
cowboy chords.
Cool.
Libby can actually play the guitar. I'm just kind of a hack.
Cool, yeah. Talk about that guitar thing. You once said that the guitar is just an instrument to get the words out to the audience. Yeah. Could you imagine to have mastered any other instrument than the guitar? Or?
I started off on a old Magnus organ, which was one of those kind of a toy instrument things, like brown brake light thing. You played the notes with your right hand and accompaniment buttons with your left, kind of like an accordion.
Inspired by Okie Myers, I guess.
Yeah, right. And then, I don't know, 16th birthday, Christmas or something, I got a kind of a keyboard, Casio keyboard deal, and kind of started working my left hand a little bit more on those keys. And as you mentioned earlier, in the previous program, you can't take keyboard everywhere, but pretty much a guitar can travel all over the world with you. So I was out on the USS Iwo Jima, and I was about 19 years old, and we were in the middle of the Adriatic Sea, and these Marines we were working with, they had brought guitars, and we're singing, and I thought, man, that's something I want to learn how to do, and I went over there, and I was picking my first guitar out in the middle of the Adriatic.
It worked out.
Well, we're giving it a good shot, Bruno.
Absolutely. Yeah, let's give it another shot, probably. Good idea.
Sure.
Whatever you want to shoot at.
Yeah. I should have brought my set list. I've been using the same set list for about 15 years. It's kind of a crutch. Oh, you know what I want to do? I want to send this song out to my bull riding friend, Corey Harris, out of Amarillo, Texas. He really loves this song, and it's called Sarah's All the Way. Sarah's all the way down in Austin night. Well, I'm in your buck and shoot, break my bones for an 8-second ride. Sarah's all the way, flies for keeps on turquoise wings. My world's fast and high, for silver buckles and darker things. Sarah's all the way, 15 years solid rock. When the buzzer finds me in your dirt, with shattered dreams against your clock, Sarah's all the way. Now I have watched her drink, and it reminded me of my thirst. Pick myself up off the ground, wipe the blood on my blue jeans, take my hat off for the crowd. Nothing but a jacked up rodeo machine. Sarah's all the way, well, I'll get back to Sarah's way. With weary eyes on winter's eve, and just to watch her laugh, reminds me to breathe. Sarah's all the way.
Yeah.
Thank y'all.
My old buddy Walt Wilkins co-produced your latest album.
He sure did.
What does it mean to you to have such kind of experienced producers and promoters putting your work out to the world?
Incredibly humbling and overwhelmed by terrifying moments of gratitude. Just overcome by gratefulness to have folks that I've respected for years before I ever even entertained the idea of performing give such a nod to the songs that I write. And I mean, you can ask Libby. I mean, it's absolutely overwhelming, and I'm so grateful to be able to do this for a living. Absolutely.
How did you get in touch with Walt? Just got to know him on the songwriter.
We were at a Towns Van Zandt. I remember this.
Birthday party?
I barely remember this. We were at a Towns Van Zandt, what do they call that, the tribute show thing?
Yeah, tribute show. Butch Hancock does it?
Jenny Finley's annual thing she does. And Catfish concerts, thank you. And Libby was invited to play at this thing, and I just went along because I was sleeping with Libby Coke.
And you got him free too.
We ain't crossing any like R-rated things, are we? Anyways, I got in, and Walt Wilkins was there, and I'd heard what Walt had been working on, a lot of the records that he had been producing out there, and of course he was there to perform too, I believe, and we'd both had a couple of beers, and he was walking this way, and I was walking the other way, and I looked at Walt, and I said, Walt, I want you to produce my next record. And he said, absolutely, we'll do it, and like moved on, and we didn't talk for like another year, but that's when the contract was signed,
Okay. Libby's singing harmony on some of your songs?
Yeah, Libby sings on a whole bunch of records for Austin people. In fact, Walt and Ron Flynt out of Jumpin' Dog Studios there in Austin, and even Justin Douglas in King Electric Studios there is taking the shine to Libby, and because she's such a beautiful harmony singer, and she gets invites to the studio to do all kinds of work, and she sang on my record and Terry Klein's record, all kinds of records. But when it came time to do Libby's record, she didn't ask me to sing a damn thing.
Should we ask her to sing a damn thing on one of yours?
You want to get up here and do some harmony on something?
Mike's right here. All right, let's do this.
Been sitting back there drinking beer.
It's fun, ain't it?
Oh, it's real fun. Hello again, everybody.
Everybody, welcome to the stage, Libby Coke. What should we do?
Well, I don't know. It's your show.
It's a tough life, folks. Why don't we do a Silver Line?
Perfect.
I think I'll catch me the silver lining out west where that old coal train never died, where the ghosts of her silver miners haunt you lovers on the rails passing by. Now I've been the ghost and I've been the lover, riding on that edge I've always known. And a woman's tongue of silver could cut a man clean down to the bone. Think I'll find the Durango silver. Think I'll cross the great divide. Think I'll breathe the smoke and cinders. Think I'll give this thing another try. Think I'll find another silver line. Now winding through the San Juan Mountains, that old Denver train, she's the last of her kind, and the lonesome of her steel rail fountain echoes down every dark and empty mine. Think I'll find the Durango silver. Think I'll cross great divide. Think I'll breathe the smoke and cinders. Think I'll give this thing another try. Think I'll find another silver line. All right. Oh, thank you. Libby Coke, everybody.
You need a beer?
Oh, you know I never turn them down.
How are you doing on beer, Bruno?
And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we need a duet album of these two guys. Because it really sounds great.
Oh, thank you so
do
much,
that more
Bruno.
often. All right, back to the real program. Where the hell was I? Here we go. On your second tour to Iraq, you borrowed Chaplin's guitar and started to entertain your peers. Did that experience somehow also influence your songwriting? Because you also do that, like veteran songwriting workshops and things. Was that kind of the inspiration point to do that, or?
It really, not really. I always wrote and played kind of because I had to, and I think you'll find that with a lot of songwriters and musicians. It was just something that they were compelled to do at a very young age, and it's kind of a thing that you have to do, and really I'm kind of making your point, Bruno, is there was one guitar on the place that we were bivouacked at, and I found it, and I stole it every chance I got, and it was terribly cheap, and the action on this guitar is like the strings are like an inch off the fingerboard, but it was the chaplain's guitar, and when he held service, somebody would play music, so I'd sneak into the church. There's this old burned out building, and grab that guitar and go back, and we'd light a little kind of a campfire, and we were trying to replicate a backyard in being home, and the Marines had come off a patrol. They'd get off and they can all get around the campfire, burning ammunition pellets, and hear some songs from home, and drink. It wasn't even near beer, non-alcoholic beer, like O'Doul's. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I'll pretend like we were having a backyard barbecue kind of a thing, and just keep morale up kind of a deal, and I think the troops liked it. I know it helped me, and I hope it helped them. I've heard a lot from them, and they've been grateful that we did that.
Notice the difference. I said borrowed. He said steal. I wanted to be nice.
Well, is it stealing if you give it back? I don't know.
Not really.
You know? I made sure they were good on Sunday.
Okay. So how did that lead, or how did you get into this veteran thing then with the songwriting workshops?
Well, I just feel passionate about being a veteran. I feel passionate about helping veterans out, and it's a heck of a transition that these folks have to make. It's nothing new. This has been going on for centuries and centuries and centuries. It's called PTSD. In 50 years, it'll be called something else. It was called, soldier's heart and shell shock, and first one thing and another, and it crosses all cultures. The Comanche warrior experienced it. The Roman centurion experienced it. It was nothing new. But some of those cultures recognized it, and warfare is an ancient thing, and they developed ways to deal with it. In the Comanche culture, they would bring all the warriors in after a battle and assemble the entire tribe, every man, woman, and child in the tribe, and the Comanche warrior, right after the battle, and the Comanche warrior's requirement was to explain his experience to the entire tribe, every bloody detail, so that every member of the tribe knew what that individual warrior had experienced, and this is the way they dealt with that. And so that you can imagine meeting somebody in that small society and having the understanding that that person knew your story, and from that person's perspective, knowing what that person had sacrificed. And so there was a union of what in our terms would be called the civilian and the military worlds, that for one reason or another we don't have. It takes a lot of courage as a civilian to listen to the stories because they're very difficult stories to listen to, and it takes a great deal of courage on the warrior side to tell the story because
it's kind of reliving it.
Absolutely, and for a whole lot of reasons. And so knowing this, I think programs like Soldier Songs and Voices and Songwriting with Soldiers and a ton of other programs, Operation Surf out in California, who are teaching combat disabled veterans how to surf. Libby and I got asked by Tom McDaniel out in California to go and play a couple of songs in the introduction ceremony of this Operation Surf. Now, Bruno, I don't know if you know by looking at my dress, but I'm not much of a surfer. So I didn't know what this whole thing was about, surfing, And even though I'd listened to those Beach Boys records, but I love that, those Barbara Ann songs in the 409 songs. The surfing things I didn't know much about. I was a landlubber up in the Panhandle of Texas. So I get out there, and Libby and I both get out there, and we were standing on the pier there in Huntington Beach, and we see a veteran that had lost both of his legs and his eyesight catch his first wave on a surfboard, sitting on the surfboard with his hands on each side, and he catches his first wave, and his hands come off the surfboard, and he raises them in the air, and that's when I knew that program was doing a tremendous amount of good for the veterans. So it doesn't matter if it's music or surfing or a sweat lodge or whatever, but to me it's anything but pills. Yeah. And the Veterans Administration, boy, I hate to get on this soapbox, but the Veterans Administration wants to hand out a pill and go on your way, and it's just not working. But there's other things that will work, and that's one of them. All right, I'm done with that.
No, you're absolutely right. And it's kind of a shame that all these organizations are founded by private people,
Absolutely.
And people bring in their time and their
and nonprofit and all volunteers.
It's unbelievable.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. Everybody expects you to actually serve your country, but then they don't do anything.
And in my mind, every one of those people are serving their country too by doing that. Yeah, all of those volunteers and everybody who organizes those kind of programs are American heroes, as far as I'm concerned.
Whenever you have a chance to go to places like that, we're close to Fort Hood, so we know a lot of people. We talk to a lot of soldiers, and it's really something that these people need, people to talk to, and, you know, get out there and try to help if you can. That's what it is. All right, another song, good?
Well, you and I got a friend in common. I suspect we got a lot of friends in common, but why don't we do a Richard Dobson song?
That would be very nice, yeah.
Richard Dobson, right. This song inspired the entire album, as a matter of fact, and Libby, you want to maybe come over here and throw something on, or?
You want to sing it?
I was sitting out in the garage, and we'd finally got all our crazy musician friends to bed. It was about 3 in the morning, and Edith had sent Richard Dobson's final record from Switzerland over to me, and I let it sit there for 3 weeks. I knew what was in the package, and I didn't have the time or courage to give it the full spirit listen. And but that night I did. It was about 3 in the morning, and I discovered this song, and we ended up putting it on the record, and Libby sings it with me. This is called I Will Fight No More Forever. We're going to do it on the second capo, Bruno. See why I keep her around? I will seek some quiet shelter, one not yet torn asunder. Let the world go by with its terror and its thunder, hiddenly where water splashes crystal through the aspen. Deer come down to drink there. In the early evening I will say goodbye to anger, and all of my endeavors will leave these tears behind. Fight no more forever. Look into my eyes, witness my surrender. You'll find me in the canyon. I will fight no more forever, yes I swear. Now these days I seem to stumble and catch myself thinking, has it always been this way? And was it just a fleeting shadow of a hawk wing streaking across the meadow? Single shining instant, blinking you might miss it. And this is all there is, and this is where we sever all the ties that bind. I will fight no more forever. Look into my eyes, witness my surrender. You'll find me in the canyon. I will fight no more forever, this I swear. And in the dim shadows I will build a fire, roll a cigarette, and while the flames rise higher, throw my coat around me, pour some whiskey in my coffee, and think of all those times we dreamed of breaking free. And as the fire dies down into the burning ember, I'll let it all go by. Fight no more forever. Look into my eyes, witness my surrender. You'll find me in the canyon. I will fight no more forever, yes I swear. Look into my eyes, witness my surrender. You'll find me in the canyon. I will fight no more forever, this I swear. Now these are the words Chief Joseph spoke in 1877. From where the sun now stands, I will fight no more forever. All right. Thank you. Thank y'all. Thank you, Libby Coke.
Thank you.
I'll take another. Or, excuse me, Libby.
By the way, that reminds me of something. Whatever happened to that tribute album W.C. Jamieson wanted to put out?
He's still working on it, and it is supposed to come out actually pretty soon. I understand Rodney Krause part of that project, and a ton of folks. And I get to kick it off, I think.
Cool.
I get to kick it off with old friends.
We talked about it at the Celebration of Life in Elgin for Richard.
Did you?
With W.C.
You were there?
Jamieson. Yeah, you too.
Yes.
I know.
That's how you got all this scoop, Bruno.
Right.
And you caught me on the whiskey.
No, not that bad. No, we actually did a kind of a small radio special with some excerpts from the stuff that people told about, with the stories.
Beautiful. Beautiful.
So I was wondering what happened to that album, because he wanted to have it out, I think, already early this year or something like that.
As it turns out, and no surprise, it was everybody's schedule, and everybody he's dealing with is really busy, and W.C. Jamieson is really busy. I mean, that guy's writing books and doing television specials and all kinds of stuff. So he's a busy guy himself. So it's taken a while to put all this together, but I think 2020 we're going to see that record.
Can't wait for that thing. It's going to be a good one.
Yeah.
All right. You played all over the world. Where do you see the difference between the audience here in Texas and, let's say, somewhere in Europe?
I was talking to somebody about this earlier. I haven't toured extensively in Europe, but I've done England and Scotland and Ireland and Holland, and it's amazing to me that they know more about American folk music and American country music than most Americans do.
People around here.
They show up to the shows, and now we're talking about shows, I mean, I understand, Bruno, you and I are in this stadium of 10,000 people today, but most of the time I play to rooms of, 20, 30, 40 people, and they pack them, and they buy the records, and they love it. And I was listening to your conversation with Libby Coke earlier. I know that the reason that they love it is that they're hearing their own music filtered through Appalachia and through the West, and coming right back to them. The same melodies and the same stuff. You can trace a lot of the cowboy songs that a lot of these pure cowboy singers are playing straight back to England and straight back to Scotland and Ireland, and so I think that's the appeal to them, and so I love that about them, and then they're passionate. They're passionate about music, and they're passionate about supporting the arts, and whereas, and I'm not. The last thing I would do is dig on America or Americans or Texans for sure. But, sometimes maybe we'd rather sit in and watch Netflix, myself included. And they'll get off their butts and go to the show, and they will have the experience live, and they'll buy the merchandise.
Kind of interesting, because there was a time when you thought that all the listening rooms are dying. And these days, it seems that some of them, at least, are coming back, like house concerts and other kind of venues.
Yeah.
Which points to the fact that people actually got back to listen to the songs and not just, go out, drink beer, and have some fun.
Well, I think there's a deficit of authenticity.
Yeah.
And I think people are searching for something that's real in music today. And maybe that maybe it is or maybe it's not fulfilled on what they're hearing on commercial radio.
Yeah, certainly not. They're
And
mainstream.
if it's not, there's still us little guys, out there touring the country and touring the world, doing music, and thank God we get to play to rooms of 20 and 30 and 40 and 50 people, and that there's places and spaces to do that. And house concerts are a big part of that, and they keep the lights on at my house. I'll guarantee you.
True. Yeah. Well, again, we're getting way off track, but doesn't matter. That's the whole thing about these shows. We kind of start talking and then come back. Now, let's come back with a song.
Sure. How about a big round of applause for Libby Koch for helping me out play this thing? Thank you.
That's the first applause you receive for the upcoming duet album, I tell you. We just talk to them as long as till they do it,
Well, let's see. I feel obligated to do something a little bit more upbeat. Let's see. Bruno, we're going to see if we can pull this off. Morton salty, cool as hell. Some bitch crack the Liberty Bell. Says he don't give a damn how it rings, as long as she loose and don't sound too clean. Runs with a girl named Fortune Cookie. She's split down the middle and seaworthy. He plays a beat down, no name guitar, tune so low it shine the stars, and her voice like the driest wine, and it'll make you thirsty and taste so fine. Don't get much further than the neighborhood when you're singing it real and broken good. Broken good. Crashed together like the finest china, shattered on the floor of some greasy diner. All the ones that come out here on play, oh, they line up just like busted chains. Shoot the songs like Robin Hood straight through your heart, and broken good, broken good. If you're feeling a little misunderstood, just to tune it down and get broken good. Anybody know the Tyra Pease if she sat as straight as Mona Lisa? Morton Man and Fortune Cookie are salty, sweet, and just right dirty. Don't mend the bell, fix the tire, don't screw up your finest hour. If you're feeling a little misunderstood, just tune it down and get broken good. If you're feeling a little misunderstood, just tune it down and get broken good. Broken good. All right. Oh, thank you.
All right, so Murph got you a lot of your initial gigs, Michael Martin Murphy, when you attended the Cowboy Gathering, and I'm not sure, was that at Red Stigall's in Fort Worth or somewhere else?
I was in Elko, Nevada.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
And what kind of, you played a lot of these things, so what kind of venue or festival would you still like to attend in that genre? Like, you know, not sure if you played Red's Fort Worth thing.
No, I never have played Reds. You know,
Biggest little cowboy
my eternal
gathering.
worry is to get pigeonholed into being a cowboy singer or a country singer or Americana. I don't have any recipe for success, but I know one thing is that I don't want to, or a veteran singer for that much, or a war song singer, or any of that kind of a deal. So it's really important to me to not, but a lot of the songs that I do have a cowboy and western theme, and that's true, and a military theme, and then not, So I don't know what the hell I'm doing is what I'm trying to tell you, Bruno.
You just do it. Keep doing it. That's the advice we would give you. Keep doing it.
Thank you. I'd love to get out. I'm playing the Corpus Christi Songwriters Festival, and then I'm on the bill at the Telluride Colorado Festival this year, and next year, and really honored to get to do that. And Libby and I both are going to run up to Calgary. Yep. Would you believe, of all my world travels, Bruno, I've never been to Canada?
Really?
No, never have.
Now you go to Calgary Stampede?
I think, that's what we're going to do.
That's cool.
So we're going to go in there and try to get our foot in the door there, and we'll see what happens. I love me some Canadians, though.
There's some good stuff up there, too.
Oh, you bet. Gordon Lightfoot and Joni Mitchell and Ian Tyson, and my God,
people that passed away already, like Stompin' Tom Collins.
Stompin' Tom Collins. I was
guy.
just this past year introduced to his music.
Mm-hmm. Really?
Yeah. By a gal named Joe out of Canada. She came down on the RV called the Moose with Rob Ellen, our UK touring manager, and Ruth Purvis Smith, and one late night we stayed up and we listened to Stompin' Tom Collins.
Hilarious.
Oh my
really
Lord,
good.
what a
really
great
serious
night!
Songs too. I mean,
You bet, tear jerkers.
if you're looking for contacts up there, you may want to talk to the wife of Adam Carroll. She's Canadian, so
Yeah.
Why
hadn't we thought of that? We're good friends with Adam and Chris.
She's Canadian. She has a lot of contacts.
She does.
They're not married that long yet. So she still may have some fresh contacts too.
And she ain't afraid to speak up either, is she?
Absolutely not.
I love Chris Carroll.
All right, now, as we said, you're a fan of various genres, but let's go back to this cowboy poetry thing for a while.
Sure.
Which song in that area in that genre would you wish you had written?
The Old Double Diamond. Wow, what a great question. The Old Double Diamond. There's a cowboy. Help me out, Libby. I'm tanking on the name of the songwriter. Y'all got y'all's. Gary McMahon.
Yep.
Start over. Cut. 3, 2, 1. The Old Double Diamond by Gary McMahon. And Gary's a working cowboy, and I don't know how. In all our world travels, I've never come across him or met him yet. We've corresponded a little bit just through kind of Facebook posts and stuff like that. And I know we have a ton of mutual friends and everything. But he wrote a song called "The Old Double Diamond." I learned off of an old Ian Tyson record. Speaking of great Canadian musicians, Ian Tyson, which is I think it was Old Corrals and Sagebrush. And my God, what a fantastic record! And I heard that song, and because it transcended the cowboy world. You could have been a businessman in New York, or or a ditch digger in Louisiana, and you could feel that song. So well written.
Probably a good idea to play it
Well,
if you want to.
Better, yeah. See if I can pull this off. Now this is a genuine cowboy song. Now the old double diamond lay out east of Du Bois in the land of the buffalo, and the auctioneer's gavel high she rapped and she rattled as I watched the old double diamond go. Won't you listen to the wind, Mother Nature's violin? When I first hired on to the old double diamond, I's a damn poor excuse for a man. I never learned how to aim when my spirit was tame. I couldn't see all the cards in my hand, and the wind whipped the granite above me and blew the tumbleweeds clean through my soul. I fought her winters, and I busted her horses, and I took more than I thought I could stand. But the battles with the mountains and cattle seem to bring out the best in a man. I guess a sailor, he needs an ocean, and a mama, her babies to hold. Well, I need the hills of Wyoming, and the land of the buffalo. She's selling out, and I'm moving on, but I'm leaving with more than I came. 'Cause I got this saddle, boys, and it ain't for sale. And I got this song to sing. Find a new range to ride, and new knots to tie, in a country where cowboys are kings. I'll turn my tail to the wind and the old double diamond, and disappear into the sage.
Great version.
All right. Thank you so much.
Great version.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Wake up, guys. Your turn. Any questions?
That we lull everybody to sleep.
Any questions before we go to the last one, as usual?
Oh,
You
hell.
see their brains going. They had too many beers. Didn't they?
No, that's good. I don't like questions anyway.
That's right, yeah. And you had a lot of time to think about my last one, which is, what would you ask yourself that I did not?
Well, first, let me give you a compliment, Bruno. Thank you so much for not diving too much into the military thing. You know, I think I dove into it a heck of a lot more than you did, and you know, that's usually people's main line when they talk about me, just because of my military service. But you know, I don't want to be known as a veteran who does songs. I want to be known as a songwriter. Period. Exactly. You know, and regardless of what I've done in my life, and I thank you. The question, though, I'm going to answer your question. Let me think about it. What question would I have asked? Tell me about the time you studied Spanish in Guanajuato, Mexico.
Okay. And your answer? Go ahead. Tell them.
So it turns out through the Good Old Boy Network, and certainly not from grades or astute study, I got into the University of Texas while I was in the military on this commissioning program. And it also turns out that I'm not very adept at learning foreign languages, despite the fact of, you know, growing up in a area that was you know, we had a lot of our friends and spoke Spanish, and I just I learned all the curse words, of course, but it never took with me, and it never took with me in school, and so I was having a hard time, and it was getting to the point where, buddy, you either need to learn a foreign language and pass the grade, or we're sending you back, you know. So I found this deal on this kind of a side street kind of a deal off of Guadalupe with, I think it was brought to me by a bunch of naval midshipmen. And if you pay a certain amount of money, you know, and get your own ticket, you fly down to Guanajuato, Mexico, and live with a Mexican family down there. And it's immersion. It's an immersion program, so you learn Spanish, right? That's the whole deal. And it's 6 credit hours of Spanish, which is exactly what I needed to get my butt out of the mess I was in, you know? 6 credit hours. And so I go down there. I'm late, of course, and Guanajuato is a beautiful city. If you've never been down there, it's a gorgeous city, and it's nothing like the border towns, you know, we were all used to, and absolutely beautiful center garden. And there was this old church that they had called the El Sanctuario, which they had turned into a cantina. And it was beautiful because you could look up at the top shelf, and there was the best tequila you could ever want to drink, right next to a picture of a Jesus and the Virgin Mary. Yeah, it's the most gorgeous thing in the world. And of course, I played guitar in there and sang, and we all had a great time. And anyways, yeah, that was my Guanajuato experience. If I go too much further, it's going to get R-rated.
And you got your 6 credit hours.
And yeah, so I get back, and the dean the dean of liberal arts at the University of Texas was, there is no way you're doing 3 weeks in Guanajuato and we're giving you 6 credit hours. And I got dressed up in my finest uniform and put on my medals, and I went in there and I looked him in the eye and I said, "Sir," I said, "I'll give you my word on this. You'll never see me in another institution of higher learning again if you'll just graduate me." And he shook his head and he goes, "All right, get
So
the hell out of here."
You basically turned a threat into a motivation lesson, right? Okay.
That's my Guanajuato story.
Cool. All right, let's play a final song, and then
All right.
we're good.
What should we do, Libby?
Welding.
Yeah, let's do it. We did a hammer song. We might as well do one about welding. Bruno, I want to thank you for having me.
Thank you for being
RPT,
here.
you still back there? Thank you so much for having us and everything. But thank you so much for all of it. And we sure appreciate each and every one of y'all coming out here and spending some time with us on a Sunday afternoon. If this ain't better than church, I don't know what is. It's colder than hell and darker than a gun. You can throw your bullets in a well, but that don't get nothing done. You shot some things, you broke everybody's heart. You clipped your wings, you just don't know where to start. And so you buy yourself an old used welding machine. Forgive yourself for every little dirty thing. You pick up the pieces of the broken things at your feet and slap on your welding gloves and turn up the heat. It's hotter than hell and brighter than the sun. Pulling the trigger, you're a heart-welding son of a gun. No, they taught my able hands flaming torch. I can shoot them guns and boys fire and scorch. But I sold all my guns, bought myself a welding machine. And it puts holes in my shirt and keeps my spirit clean. It's hotter than hell and brighter than the sun. Pulling the trigger, I'm a heart-welding son of a gun. Coco's off to a good start in Milwaukee land. He's learning to weld like a #1 welding man. He's shining more than any naked eye can stand. He got a hammer-forged heart and a cast-iron steady hand. It's hotter than hell and brighter than the sun. Pulling the trigger, he's a heart-welding son of a gun. It's hotter than hell and brighter than the sun. Pulling the trigger, he's a heart-welding son of a gun.
Yeah.
All right. Bruno, thank you so much. Thank y'all.
Chuck Hawthorne, ladies and gentlemen. Good.
Thank you
Great.
much.
And Libby Koch back there sitting in
Woo!
peace and
Yeah.
harmony. Thank you.
Thank you, Bruno.
Appreciate it.
Appreciate it.